Stepping into a new identity. For those of you who don't know, my name is Isaiah Malonson. I just turned 29 September of this year, 2025. And about 4 years ago, I had just got out of jail. I was facing like 5 to 7 years in Mississippi prison, which is not where I'm from. So it was an out of state prison. And I was full of shame, regret. I was just at my rock bottom. That was my personal rock bottom. The girl that I had been dating at the time, she had left me. I was dating her for like 3.5 years. She left me for like my childhood best friend. All that's going on while I'm in jail, and it just seems hopeless. I was 24 when that happened, and I just turned 29, like I said, in September, and now I make multiple six figures a year. I'm trying to hit 1 million a year, but multiple six figures. I got the Camaro that I always wanted. I always wanted a new, clean, nice Camaro. My own house. I was living in Houston, then I was living in Dallas. Now I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. Living out here by my mentors, Andy Elliott, Eric Klein, and a few other people who I just looked up to for the longest time, and now I'm just rubbing shoulders with them. And so those are two totally different realities. Two totally different realities. One, I was at my lowest. I was at rock bottom, scarcity mindset, didn't know how to make money, didn't know how to be disciplined, didn't know how to work for myself, didn't know how to appreciate myself and respect myself, versus today, a completely different reality. And what I want to talk about in this video is identity shifting, stepping into the new identity so that you could ultimately change your reality to whatever you want it to be. Now, this video is going to be off the cuff, right? So it's going to be straight from the dome, no script, no notes, no nothing. But I don't know too much about a lot of things, but I do know a lot about a few things. And one of those things is shifting your identity, overcoming a limiting mindset, overcoming a victim mentality and a scarcity mindset, because that's what I was raised on. Growing up, that's the only thing I knew is a scarcity mindset. Why me? It's their fault, pointing fingers, all that. It wasn't until I was at that rock bottom moment that I made a conscious choice and decision to say, no more. No more. And some people might be watching this video and you're thinking like, man, I wish I could just make that decision. Well, I know what you mean, because I've been there and I wanted to change way longer than that. And even after I made that conscious decision to change, I still had to go through a process of growth, learning how to perceive the world in a new way. I still had to go through that process. But yeah, usually you make those one-time committed decisions because you're in so much pain, because you're at rock bottom. And so yeah, you want to avoid hitting rock bottom just so you can make the change. But I'm gonna be honest, it's harder to make a change from a place of complacency than it is from extreme pain. If you step onto some hot coals, like some red hot coals, you're going to immediately step off of them because of the pain that you feel when you step on them. If they were warm and they felt kind of nice, you probably don't want to step off of them, especially if it's cold outside. You probably want to stay by them and put more of them on you. So it's harder to change from a place of complacency than it is from a place of pain. But ultimately, everybody has different levels of pain. And my level of pain and rock bottom was being in jail, facing 5 to 7 years in an out of state prison. My girl of 3 years left me for my best friend. I'm missing my front teeth and I'm heavily addicted to drugs and I'm just a bitch. Straight up, all the way around, I was a bitch, a coward in every realm of life. And so how did I step into that new identity, right? Because that's what this video is about. How can you step into your new identity? And I also want to give you some practical steps. I don't just want this video to be all theory and information and you not leave with some practical steps on what to do, right? So I'm going to make sure to give you some steps. But lesson number one of shifting your identity is when you step into the new identity, you're like a child. You're like a newbie. You're like a square. You're naive. When you're stepping into a new identity, you've never been in that identity before. So you have to step into it with childlike curiosity. If you bring any of the knowledge and opinions and biases from your previous identity into your new identity, then you're not going to completely cut off the old identity. You're not going to fully be able to step into the new identity. To be able to step into something that you've always wanted to become, you have to study how do they perceive these things. And every day when you're practicing stepping into that new identity, right? Paying attention to the things you say, the things you read, the things you look at, the things you do, your schedule, all those things, whatever your identity is, you have to step into it with childlike curiosity and naivety. Don't come in here thinking that you know everything. How can you be broke? You've never held $10,000 in your life. You've never held it before. I was there. I remember. I made this specific shift to have money come to me, to be the person I want to be, to have the charisma and the confidence that I have, and the skill set that I have, and the abilities that I have. I had to work for all this and I had to step into it. But when I stepped into it, it was with childlike curiosity, childlike naivety. It's going to be awkward at first. You're going to have childlike curiosity at every single moment and be present in the moment. But every time that you read that book, every time that you do those push-ups, every time that you're at the gym, every time that you're doing something that you know that better version of you would be doing, you're giving that new identity time and space to grow. You're giving it an opportunity to form. Okay, so let's talk about the second point of stepping into the new identity. This is something that physically and chemically and literally happens inside of your brain. Inside of your brain, there is something called neural pathways. Okay, look it up. I'll probably show a picture of it somewhere on here or something. But literally, your brain is connected by, think of it as roads, right? Streets. Literally, that's what it is, or highways. Neural pathways within your mind. And so every time you learn something new, your brain forms a new neural pathway. And it'll always be there. That's where your memories are. You learn how to do something. It's like learning how to ride a bike. You never forget how to ride a bike unless something happens to your brain. You know what I mean? That's because it's physically inside your brain. Doctors have figured out now that if you poke around in certain parts of the brain, you could forget stuff, you could remember stuff, you could speak another language that you never knew how to speak before. The brain is a powerful thing. But the point I'm making here is that when we are shifting into a new identity, we have to understand that it's taking place spiritually and physically. It is scientifically, physically happening inside of your brain. And so when your brain is forming that new road, it's like imagine you cutting down a trail in the woods. That's pretty much exactly what it is. And the more your brain goes down that new trail that you've just made, the more it becomes second nature to you. And studies show that the only way for that new pathway to fully be formed is with consistency over time. If you read The One Thing by Gary Keller, they say that on average, it takes 66 days for a new habit to be formed. And once that new habit is formed, it takes less and less and less discipline in order to keep doing that habit that you just formed. And over time, it becomes second nature. Why is this so important? Because our brain is going to tell lies to us to tell us to go back to the old identity. And you have to have a strategic reason and rebuttals when your brain tries to tell you those lies. When your brain tries to reason its way out of creating that new identity, you have to remind yourself that it literally takes 90 days to completely change the entire trajectory of your life. You can change your entire fate on planet Earth just by being consistent for 90 days. I guarantee you. So keep that point in mind when you're going through the thick of it, because everything is all fun and exciting and motivating when you're in the beginning and you're just about to start, or you're making the plans to do something, and then the next day comes and you really got to do everything that you put down on that piece of paper. You really got to execute on all the things that you said you was going to do. In those moments, your brain will fight you. And in those moments, you need to have clear, logical reasons of why you could tell your brain, hey, shut up. We're doing this. Doesn't matter what you say. We're doing it. Doesn't have to make sense. I don't have to feel motivated. We're doing it. And then over time, not only do you form a new neural pathway within your brain for that habit you just formed, but you also formed another virtue within your brain, another pathway within your brain that connects everything. And it's called consistency. It's called discipline. That in and of itself is a muscle and a skill that not that many people have. That's why you could beat so many people, because nobody's consistent. Nobody's disciplined. If you could just be consistent with something valuable for 90 days, not only will you have a valuable habit, but you will have consistency and discipline physically ingrained into your brain, and you could use it to do other things and acquire other skills. All right, point number 3 of stepping into a new identity: it is lonely. It is so lonely and it sucks. Your feelings are hurt consistently on a daily basis. There might be a few days where you just don't care, or you feel like the shit, and your confidence is up because you know you've been consistent and disciplined and nobody could fuck with you. That is real. But let me tell you something. That loneliness don't go away. That loneliness don't go away. And it's not something you could go around. You're going to have to face it either way. It's a harsh reality, but you learn how to deal with it. And then that's another virtue. That's another skill that makes you way more valuable. You're cool being by yourself. You like your own company. You like yourself. You know how to enjoy your own company. That's something you got to learn at first when you're going through the grind. But at first, it's just going to feel like straight lonely. You're going to be going through so many things on a daily basis because you're grinding, and you're just going to have nobody to tell about it. especially if you're a man. If you're a man, you ain't got nobody to talk to about it. Let me give you a piece of advice if you are going through that and you are feeling lonely. The last thing you want to do is tell any female. The last thing you want to do is tell any female your emotional hardships. You don't want to do that, bro. It's like you do that like maybe once a year if it's an emergency. But when you going through this grind and you're going through an identity shift, you can't tell certain people. And that's another muscle that you have to flex. It's a virtue of life. You have to learn how to keep things to yourself. Like over time, you really do like yourself and you like to be with yourself. You like to be by yourself. You enjoy your own company. But that comes with time being by yourself. And so with that, you got to learn how to just keep things to yourself. Keep things written in a journal or something, or a video, record everything like a video diary. That's what I did. I got hundreds of videos in my iPhone that I never posted. It was just a video to myself, to my future self, and to my current self, just to get my thoughts out. Because when you're going through an identity shift, nobody understands you. It's just what it is. Don't expect nobody to understand you. Like if you expect people to understand you, bro, you just shooting yourself in the foot. Just accept and prepare that this is going to be lonely. There's so many reasons as to why it's lonely, but the most popular reason that I see on a lot of podcasts like Andrew Huberman or Alex Hermosi or the Modern Wisdom podcast, it's because you're leaving this old identity who you used to be and all the people with it, and you're going to this new identity that you've never been at before. And you're just stuck in the middle, right? So you're not hanging out with the old friends anymore, but you're not where you need to be able to hang out with the new friends, with the new identity that you want to be with, right? And so if you even try to make friends while you're in this transition, you're only going to attract bum ass friends or the people from the past identity. So you have to be alone. You have to be on your own. There's no way around it. And so learning how to deal with that loneliness is key, because there's certain things that you just can't get around. I was talking to a student of mine actually just yesterday, and he came to me with a deal that he had. It was like a land deal. It was like a construction deal for some commercial property on this huge piece of land, and he had the development plans, he had the blueprints and all that, and he came to me asking for help. And long story short, he was just like, "What do you think I should do?" And I was like, well, bro, why are you not sticking to the plan? Why are you not doing what I told you to do? Like, you paid me to tell you what to do and to help you do it, but how am I supposed to help you if you're not even doing what you're supposed to do? And in essence, what he was really trying to do was find his way around the hard work. Wholesale real estate ain't easy. It's just sales. Any sales position is hard. It requires you talking to a lot of people and getting rejected a lot. And so I told him, like, bro, what you should do is the plan that I've given you since day one. I told him it's basically like working out. If you want muscles, if you want to be jacked, or if you want to lose weight, let's keep losing weight out of the picture. Let's just keep to getting jacked, right? Because you could go get liposuction somewhere. But it's like going to the gym and you want muscles. You want big muscles. There's no surgery you could get. There's no drug you could take. There's no magic pill you could take. Nothing will take away what's required to build muscle, which is tearing the muscle down physically, voluntarily. You can't avoid working out. You have to work out. You could take some performance enhancing drugs that maybe it helps you to like working out more, or it gives you the stamina to work out more. But either way, you got to work out. You got to go through the pain and you got to break your muscles down. It's the same thing with anything, and it's the same thing with shifting your identity. You can't get around the lonely chapter. You can't get around going in with childlike naivety and curiosity. You can't change the fact that a physical change needs to happen within your brain neurologically in order for you to form this new identity. These are things that you just can't get around. You can't figure out a way around them, so you just got to go through it. So when you go through that lonely journey, when you go through that lonely chapter, just remember that it's supposed to be like this. Nobody's going to understand you. Nobody's going to relate to you. And you have to remember to not take it personal. Just remember that it comes with the territory, and this is a part of changing your identity and your reality. All right, the fourth and final point to stepping into your new identity and shifting your reality is to not beat yourself up and understand that this happens in phases. This is probably one of the most important lessons that I've learned. When I first started to shift my identity, especially when I first found out who Jesus was and who Christ was, and I found out the truth about that, every single day I was beating myself up and I was living in shame. I was living in guilt, but I was still motivated enough through the heartbreak and the rock bottom to push through and do the work anyways, despite feeling horrible every single day because I was judging myself every single day. If I could go back and talk to myself when I first started changing my life around, one thing that I would tell myself is that it's going to take time. You're not going to be the person that you want to be overnight, but that's okay. All that means is that what you're going through is worth it, because anything worth having does not come easy, and anything that comes easy, if this change that you're looking for came to you easy, you would not appreciate it and it would not last. So you have to understand that when you're going through the grind, when you slip up, when you fall, when you fuck up, right? I made a committed decision when I was in jail that I will never be the same. I promise you, it doesn't matter where I'm at, where I go, I will continue to evolve and improve, and I will never be at this level again. And I meant that from the bottom of my heart. But eventually, I get out of jail and I have the whole world at my disposal. I could go to a gas station, I could pick up some cigarettes, I could pick up some guards, I could call somebody, I could buy some weed, which I did for a long time. For a long time. And I hated myself for it. Every single day I would beat myself up and I just felt unworthy because I knew that I was still doing things that I said I would never do. I mean, how stupid would you feel if you hit rock bottom, absolute worst and lowest point of your life, and you made a promise to yourself and to God and to your loved ones around you that you will change for the better? And that you will never put yourself in another situation that leads to circumstances like this. How stupid would you feel if you made that promise and then 3 months later you doing the same thing that you said you wouldn't do? Your conscience will talk to you like, bro, do you want to go back to jail? I thought we just said that we wasn't going back to jail. Paul talks about this in the New Testament. He talks about how his body makes him do the things that he really does not want to do. And the things that he does want to do, genuinely, for some reason, he finds it so difficult to do those things. And I'm telling you that this is just the struggle of being a human, having internal conflict. But the sooner that you could realize that everything you're going through has a start period and an end period, this does not last forever. The only way that you could postpone its end date or make the suffering last longer than it has to is if you're not consistent, because consistency cuts through all the bullcrap. If you're consistent, then it should only take you 66 days to form a new habit. After that, it becomes easier. If you're not consistent, it'll probably take 6 months and it'll never be easier until you're consistent. Alex Hermosi says that the good thing about bad times is that they don't last forever. And the bad thing about good times is that they too don't last forever. They both have an end date. And so when you keep this in mind, when you're going through whatever season of life you're going through, it really gives you sort of a peace of mind to know that, hey, there's light at the end of this tunnel. Yes, it sucks right now, but I have a plan and a goal that I will reach. And this suffering, this season of suffering will end. I just have to stick to the plan. I just have to be consistent. So having that clarity in your mind and just knowing that everything happens in seasons and phases, it helps you to push through more. It helps you to be consistent. All right, now what are some practical steps that you can use to implement into your life so that you could truly step into that new identity? All right, well, here's practical tip number one. You have to list out all the things that your current identity or your past identity or the identity that you're trying to leave, you have to list out on a piece of paper all of their characteristics and all the things they like to do for fun. What that person likes to do for fun, what that person does in their spare time, what that person eats, what is that person's overall attitude and view on life, and what does that person's daily routine look like? You want to list all those things out on a piece of paper. Then, when you're done with that and you have all the details, you want to be very specific. You do want to be very specific, right? Because if you're not specific and you're too general with these things, you could let some things slip through the cracks. And you'll find your old identity creeping into your new identity when it should have no place there. So you got to be specific. What does the current identity like to do for fun? What does he like to watch on TV? Does he like watching TV? Does he play any sports? What does he spend his money on? What are their beliefs? And what does their daily routine look like? Once you got that down, I want you to do the same thing for the new identity that you're trying to create. You literally have to sit down and think about this. You have to think about, who do you want to become? Think about who you look up to. Is there a few people on YouTube or something that you genuinely find honorable and you look up to them? Find a few people that you look up to, and just what are the things that you think you would be proud of? Proud of. Remember that. Like you would show it off to other people. You would show it off to like your family. You would show it off to God. You would show it off to your kids, your girl, your church, your friends, whatever. Find those things that make you proud. Find a few people. Pick out, cherry pick the things that you like about that person. Get all the things, right? So you need to create this new person, and you have to imagine them as you. They have your face. Okay, they have your face. You could change the shape of your face, but you can't change your face for real. Well, I mean, I guess if you get plastic surgery, I mean, that's on you. Whatever you want this new person to be, it could be plastic surgery. But I'm saying it has to be, you have to imagine it as you in this new avatar, right? Is this person in shape? Does this person wake up in the morning? Does this person read? Does this person work a lot? Does this person have one girlfriend or multiple girlfriends? Is this person celibate? But you have to create that person and take the time, take a few hours out your day, cut off your phone, TV, all that, sit in a room, be quiet, and really create this avatar and this character that you want to become. Once you have both of those on paper, you need to put this up somewhere where you could see it every single day. So you're constantly reminded, whether that's in your car, on a mirror, in your bathroom, whatever. And you need to focus on who you're not going to be today and who you are going to be today. That's something that I did for months. This is one way to really help build that neurological pathway in your brain and remind your brain that, hey, we're on a new pathway. Hey, today we're building a new pathway. Hey, today we're building something new. Hey, today we're going to give time for this new pathway. We're not going to be on the old pathways anymore. We're going to be on this new pathway. That's what you're doing every time you look at it every single day, and you remind yourself of who you're not going to be, and you remind yourself of who you are going to be. And you're constantly reinforcing that new pathway in your brain, and you're constantly reinforcing your brain to use that new pathway, that new neurological pathway in your brain. Practical tip number 2, and this is big, really big, and it's super quick and fast to do, but it's not easy. You need to clean and clear all of your personal living area, whether that's an entire house, whether that's an apartment, whether that's an office, whether that's your car, all of it. You need to clear it all out and wipe it new, because this is another thing that is going to help that neural pathway that is being formed in your brain. By doing this, you remind yourself and your brain that that old person that used to live with you is dead. That old person, that old identity is gone. He's not here anymore. They're not here anymore. You need to go Google minimalism and try to make it as close to one of those houses as possible. You need to have nothing. Everything needs to be wiped. No pictures, no awards, none of that old stuff, whatever. Unless some of those things go along with your new identity, maybe keep them. If it's like an award or something that reminds you of how smart you are and you're trying to have a new smart identity, sure, keep those awards to remind yourself that you are smart. But most of the time, it's probably going to be everything in your room needs to be cleared out. The new person that I wanted to become was sharp. He wore nice, clean clothes. So all the old things that I had at the time that reminded me of my old identity, whether that was Bob Marley posters, Sublime posters, weed paraphernalia, alcohol bottles, having gar wrappers laying around, watching YouTube videos about weed, all of that stuff, I had to clear it out. And that's another thing I didn't mention. You got to clear it out digitally too. Not only do you have to clear your physical space, your physical living area, but you got to stop following people on Instagram who you're trying to not be like anymore. So I remember there was one point during my identity shift, I really had to delete my entire Instagram. And that was hard because I was a rapper and I was trying to make it in rapping. And I had some clout, right? And I had a lot of music videos. I had a lot of time, effort, years, and money invested into being a rapper, into this rapper identity that I had. But when it came down to it, I knew that I really wanted to step into this new identity, this better version of me. And it was worth it to delete that old identity. So, I used to call myself MTV Ozzy. And there's a whole meaning behind that, right? That's why I got the MTV tattoo on me. But I had to just cut off that old identity. So no more MTV Ozzy, no more Ozzy. It was Isaiah Malonson from then on out. And I had to delete that entire Instagram. And I didn't have Instagram for like 2-3 years, right? I didn't make Instagram until I was fully, clearly the person that I was trying to become. Straight up, you go look on my Instagram, you see the first post, like my very first Instagram post and the few posts after that, that was a new me. That was a new identity, but I was still learning how to post content. I was still learning how to do it. I knew it was important, so I knew that I just had to start. But clear out your room, clear out your social media, unsubscribe to all the people on YouTube that you know you don't want to be like anymore. And then once you have it all cleared out, you really do got to replace it with the positive. Once you have a clear visual of how that person lives and what that person is like, you got to decorate your room and your personal living area and only follow people on social media who are like that new identity that you're trying to create. Ain't no way around it. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got for the video. I hope you guys got some value out of this. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, comment any of your thoughts. Other than that, y'all go follow me on Instagram. Make sure to subscribe and share this video with anybody who you think might get some value out of it. Stay motivated.